Hey y'all, it's entry number 72 of this off-season series where we discuss a different player's fantasy value each day as a group. We are another day closer to the start of the 2022 NFL season. Each day we'll drop a name, go through some positives and some concerns of their fantasy profile, and then I'll give my personal opinion at the end. Today's discussion will be on Cam Akers, running back, Los Angeles Rams. We'll start with the positives with Cam Akers' fantasy profile. High-powered offense. The Los Angeles Rams have one of the most high-powered offenses in the league. During the 2021 season, the Rams ranked 9th in total yards per game with 372.1 and tied for 7th in points per game with 27.1 according to ESPN. By playing in one of the better offenses in the NFL, Cam Akers will have more opportunities to score. The next thing I really like about Cam Akers' fantasy profile is that he's gotten heavy usage when he's been available. In the 2021 playoffs, Cam Akers carried the ball 67 times, or 16.75 per game, for 172 rushing yards, 43 per game, and 0 rushing touchdowns on the ground, and caught 8 passes, 2 per game, on 10 targets, 2.5 per game, for 76 receiving yards, 19 per game, and 0 receiving touchdowns through the air. In addition, Cam Akers dominated touches down the stretch in 2020 with 21 carries in Week 13, 29 carries in Week 14, 15 carries in Week 15, 21 carries in Week 17, 28 carries in the first round of the playoffs against Seattle, and 18 carries against the Green Bay Packers in Round 2 of the 2020 playoffs. Not many backs get 16 or more carries per game nowadays, and if Akers continues to see this large workload, it will be great for his fantasy value. The last thing I really like about Cam Akers' fantasy profile is that he's got a solid offensive line. At the end of the 2021 season, the Los Angeles Rams offensive line ranked as the 7th best in the league according to Pro Football Focus. Going into 2022, they will have 3 of the 5 same starting offensive linemen. Left guard, David Edwards, center, Brian Allen, and right tackle, Robert Havenstein. The 2 positions changing will be left tackle, going from Andrew Whitworth to Joseph Noteboom, and right tackle, going from Austin Corbett to Logan Bruss. Even after losing Whitworth, the Rams' offensive line is projected to be the 11th best in the NFL going into the 2022 season according to Pro Football Focus, which is good news if you're rostering Cam Akers. Moving on to some of the concerns with Cam Akers' fantasy profile. Success rate of players returning from his injury. Cam Akers suffered an Achilles injury in July of 2021, which has generally been a career killer for running backs. While there have been some more encouraging cases of players returning from this injury in recent years, with guys like Donta Foreman and Marlon Mack, there's a very strong chance that Akers is never the same player he was prior to the injury. The next major concern I have with Cam Akers' fantasy profile is whether or not he is actually an above average NFL starting running back. When Cam Akers came back last year, he performed as one of the worst running backs in the league. It's easy to blame this on him being rusty from his injury or the strength of schedule, but his statistics when he was healthy during his rookie season don't really pop off the page either, with 145 carries, 625 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 11 receptions, 14 targets, 123 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. For reference, teammate Darrell Henderson was pretty much as good as Akers in 2020, putting up a stat line of 138 carries for 624 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, 16 receptions on 24 targets for 159 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. In addition, Henderson had the most rushing broken tackles on the team with 8 on 138 carries, while Akers only had 6 on 145 carries, and Henderson posted an 80.4 Pro Football Focus grade in 2020, which was actually higher than Cam Akers' grade of 68.4. There's really nothing to suggest that Akers is a special talent at the running back position at this point of his NFL career. And that's a little concerning if you are planning on investing in Akers at his current ADP. The last major concern I have with Cam Akers' fantasy profile is that he hasn't been utilized much as a pass catcher yet. In 13 games in 2020, Cam Akers had just 11 receptions on 14 targets for 123 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown, and posted a drop rate of 7.1%, which was below average for a running back according to RotoWire. Being a below average pass catcher will limit his fantasy upside. Some additional thoughts on Cam Akers' fantasy profile. In 2020, Cam Akers was the RB42 in standard, the RB43 in half PPR formats, and the RB45 in full PPR formats according to Fantasy Pros. Between weeks 12 and 17 of the 2020 regular season, where Cam Akers took over the lead role, he was the RB15 in standard, the RB17 in half PPR formats, and the RB18 in full PPR formats. The Rams running back room. Besides Akers, the Rams running back room consists of Darrell Henderson, Kyren Williams, and Jake Funk. We've seen Darrell Henderson be a capable back, and I really like what Kyren Williams brings to the table as a great pass blocking and pass catching back, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a waiver pickup at some point during this year. Coaching. The Los Angeles Rams head coach, Sean McVay, has given his running back room solid usage on the ground, but has generally been below average in featuring his running back room as a whole in the passing game. Sean McVay's offense has had just 3 1,000 or more rushers in the 8 seasons that he's been an offensive coordinator or head coach. Alfred Morris in 2014, Todd Gurley in 2017, and Todd Gurley in 2018. Personal opinion. Cam Akers is going off the board as RB15, about pick 31 overall on ESPN, and RB17, about pick 32 overall on Yahoo. I still think this is too high for him. For an example, he's going ahead of Saquon Barkley on ESPN right now. The big thing Akers fans seem to like is his situational factors, with talk about how he'll be Sean McVay's bell cow, and to remember how amazing Todd Gurley was for fantasy in this offense. But this argument undersells what caliber talent Gurley was in his prime, ignores that McVay's offense has only had 1 season with an 1,000-plus rusher outside of Todd Gurley, and ignores that Akers might not simply be good enough post-injury to justify taking a bell cow approach with him on the ground all year. My guess is that they tried to take more of a bell cow approach the first few weeks of the season with Akers, since McVay seems to really like him based on him force-feeding Akers in the playoffs despite his inefficiency. Akers puts up solid fantasy numbers because he gets in the end zone a few times, but his efficiency leaves something to be desired. Akers owners then will victory lap, and then because he's inefficient, the Rams start scaling back his workload more and more each week, utilizing Darrell Henderson and Kyren Williams more and more. Williams especially will likely start slow since he was injured in training camp and he's a rookie, but I think he'll earn a role. And then the fantasy owners will wonder, what happened? He was so good the first few weeks, and irrationally blame Sean McVay because they get frustrated that the situation has turned into a full-blown committee. For each of these entries, we will highlight a charitable cause or organization. Cam Akers has supported breast cancer awareness in his My Cause My Cleats in the past. Akers shares a deeply personal connection with this cause because of his mother, Angela Neal's battle with breast cancer when he was a child. Here's a link to that organization below. And that's it for today's entry. If you enjoyed this entry, be sure to like and subscribe.